Story number 1. I, 24M, think my girlfriend, 23F, might be trying to secretly get pregnant. Okay, the first thing I should state is that I greatly care for this girl and can imagine myself having a future with her. I really enjoy being with her. We've been together for a little over a year, and I'm certain that she feels the same way. I should also note that we have, up until recently, never really had any major issues or fights in our relationship. For these reasons, we have been talking a lot lately about the future, marriage, kids, etc., and where we see ourselves over the next few years. However, while she feels we are ready to settle down, I want to wait a little longer so that we can enjoy our youth for a few more years. This has caused some disagreement between us and did cause her to express concern over having to wait too long, but I thought that this was nothing major and told her to wait just a few more years, 2 to 3. As for why I think she may be trying to get pregnant, all I can say is that her behavior has been strange over the last 2 months. First, I should note that, over the course of our relationship, we both have agreed that I would either use condoms or pull out, since she sometimes fails to remember to take her birth control, but she recently told me that I could start finishing inside her because she was going to do better about remembering to take her pills. This caught me by surprise, and I told her that I was okay with continuing on the way things were, which seemed to upset her a bit. She didn't really get mad, but she seemed really insistent on me finishing inside her and promised me that it would feel a lot better. At this point I had no reason to not believe her sincerity, so I did it a few times but then told her that I just wasn't entirely comfortable because I knew she had been forgetful in the past. This comment, for whatever reason, seemed to hurt her, so I suggested that maybe she look into an IUD as a possible solution to our dilemma. She responded by saying that she would rather stay on the pill and that I needed to just relax and enjoy the feeling. One more thing I should note is that I have noticed she almost will no longer stimulate me to orgasm unless it's vaginally, which she claims is because she doesn't want to tire me out and wants my best. However, this has never been an issue before and is another recent development which doesn't make sense. At first I thought this behavior was a little strange, but no big deal, right? However, I finally started to get a little suspicious when she started actively questioning what I would do if she got pregnant, and by actively questioning I mean that she brought it up constantly. I told her that we would discuss that if it happened and that we should consider all options in such a situation. This caused a fight between us where she ended up crying and saying that I didn't care about her and that I was being selfish by refusing to discuss our future, i.e. specifically state what I would do if she got pregnant, but we again talked things over and I apologized, although I'm still not sure what I did wrong. Things seemed to get better from there, but I did notice that she was, and still is, talking a lot about babies and children, especially considering that we had discussed children only a handful of times before the last 2 months. Specifically, though, she has been talking them up, if you will. That is, she has been talking about how fun it would be to have a baby and how cute they are, and she also started saying repeatedly that I would make a great dad. My only response to this has been to remind her that I would love to have children but just not right now, to which she has consistently responded by saying something like sometimes fate has a different plan for us and that we have to be flexible. However, what finally led me to believe that she was purposefully trying to get pregnant was when she started offering to buy my condoms. This was really unusual, as I have always bought them myself throughout our relationship and before that. When I asked her why the sudden urge to do this, she said that it was because it was convenient and something that all girlfriends do. I tried to press the issue further, but she ended the conversation by saying that she just wanted to take care of me. As of now, she hasn't bought any for me and I have no proof that she could be poking holes in the condoms, but I feel really uneasy. I don't want to hurt her by refusing to have sex with her, but I also don't want to have a baby now. This isn't helped by the fact that she still wants me to finish in her when we have sex. In fact, it has gotten to the point where I feel bad if I don't comply, even though I feel I shouldn't give in to her, because I want so badly to trust her. I think I really would be devastated if I found out that she has been trying to trick me into getting her pregnant. Story number 2. I, 22M, just learned that my sister, 29F, had an abortion to be able to donate me part of her liver. It caused her divorce. I can't stop hating myself. What really happened, I was very sick 4 years ago and was in need of a liver transplant. My situation was that it was very unlikely that I would get one in time. At that time my sister was pregnant. I didn't know as it was early, less than 2 months. My situation was getting worse and my sister decided to do an abortion, and then 2 months later we did the transplant surgery. I never knew about the pregnancy. All I knew was that she gave me half of her liver. My sister and her husband divorced a year later. I didn't know the truth until yesterday when my mom slipped up about an abortion that my sister had. I asked her about it and she told me everything. She told me that my sister made her promise not to tell me and she failed that promise. My sister was very happy. My brother-in-law was a very decent guy. I knew they were looking forward to having children. They were great together. She always told us about how lucky she is to have found him. Apparently at the time of their decision, my sister and her husband had great disagreement. He didn't want her to have the abortion and risk the transplant surgery and was hopeful that my situation might sort itself out without my sister's help. The chance was very small, but it was there. My sister didn't agree. They couldn't convince one another and my sister did things anyway without his blessing. They tried working things out after the surgery, they went to counseling, they even tried to have another baby but they couldn't get themselves to do it. He couldn't forgive my sister and she wasn't all that apologetic, so they ended up separating and eventually divorcing. My sister isn't happy now. Hasn't been since the surgery. She never told me the real reason for her divorce. She told me that they were after different things. I just learned things from my mom. I asked my mom if my sister still thinks that she did the right thing. She said she's not sure. I can't stop feeling guilty. My sister saved my life but destroyed her own life doing it. She had to abort the baby she definitely loved and looked forward to, and did that knowing that it will probably end her marriage as well. I was ready to go at that time. I had accepted my fate and I was at peace. She should have just let me. Shit. My brother-in-law should have told me so I would have talked her out of it. I'm surprised he didn't. I can't feel anything but to hate myself. Story number 3. Me, 33F, with my almost boyfriend, 30M, 3 months. He lied to me about having leukemia. I flew out to care for him and he basically kicked me out of his house after I slept with him. In a weird place emotionally and not sure what to do. Alright, so as the summary said, I met this guy online. We actually met on Reddit. I truly don't care if he sees this. I thought we hit it off amazingly well. We started talking and suddenly 3 months passed by and we're still on Skype every night and texting like crazy. We never put a label on it, as we both agreed we'd have to pursue a physical relationship before taking it to the boyfriend/girlfriend level. Since he lives in another state, I offered to meet halfway. We aren't that far. He agreed and told me he would let me know what his schedule looked like and we'd plan it out and make it a fun extended weekend or something. So as this plan was in the works, he called me one night to talk to me about a trip he made to his doctor that day. He told me that he didn't want to freak me out, but he had struggled with leukemia for years. He told me that they stopped treatment in his mid-20s and told him his condition was improving. However, very recently they found a growth in his lungs and began him on treatment again. I was a little surprised because not once had he mentioned this at all. And I consider this to be a huge thing to not mention to someone you've been planning to date for 3 months, so I began poking for details and his story kind of started to add up. He did go to the doctor often. He always looked rather skinny and sickly and was really pale. He showed me pictures of him in the hospital in his early 20s hooked up to all kinds of machines and told me that it was hard to talk about because every girl so far has left after finding out about his disease and he didn't want me to leave as well. I explained that hiding that kind of information wasn't okay just because he didn't trust I would stick around after finding out about this, and he agreed and apologized. So after that we kind of halted our planning and talked about how he was doing from day to day. Well, one day I wake up at 5:55 a.m. to a phone call and he's on the other end crying and freaking out. He told me that he had to have a surgery to try and remove the growth and that he would be out of commission for weeks afterwards. He knew it was a stretch, but asked if I could stay for the first 5 days after his surgery to help out until he could either hire someone or ask a family member to stay with him for the remainder of his recovery time. Of course, I said yes. I took a week of vacation and packed my bags and booked a flight the day of his surgery so that I would make it just before he went under. I rented a car and got everything figured out on my own. He offered to reimburse me for the price of the plane ticket, but I told him it was alright. The day I departed I gave a spare key to my neighbor so that they could check on my cat once a day and made the trip over and picked up my car and went to get him. And that ends the backstory. So after I picked up the car I drove to the hospital he was staying at. I made it to the street the hospital was on when he gave me a call and told me that it ended sooner than he thought, and he went ahead and asked a friend to pick him up and drop him off at home. He gave me his home address and just asked that I meet him there. I was kind of annoyed. Because I'm so sure that after a huge surgery like that you'd at least stay in the dang hospital. But he said he was at home, so I went to his house. I picked up some flowers and coffee and rung the doorbell. He answered in sweats and a t-shirt and had this bulky what looked like a band-aid under his shirt. I asked him how he was doing and gave him a hug, and we pretty much hung out from there. He just stayed in bed and I would make him food and bring it to him and watch movies with him. I ordered us takeout at his request and he ate like half of it and said he didn't have an appetite. After we ate we both fell asleep and the next day was pretty much a repeat of the day before. Only when night time came he suddenly had this burst of energy and before I know it we're having sex. We had sex all night. He did not once run out of stamina. He was totally into it. He was starving afterwards. The whole deal. We had sex in the morning. We had sex in the afternoon. A lot of sex. Finally, I told him to chill out and kind of pushed him away when he was trying to go after like a 10th sex session with me. I touched the bandage and noticed red came off on my fingers. He made no mention of it, so I know he didn't notice. That's when alarm bells started ringing in my head. I went into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water and began looking through his mail. I know it might not make sense, but I had this strong feeling that he was lying about his surgery. I just wanted to check to see if his name really was what he told me. It was. I was beginning to freak out and felt like he tricked me to get me out there and that I might have been bunking with a predator. Almost as if he was sensing my urgency, he approached me looking all panicked and told me that his family was on their way over to make sure he was recovering well. He'd already repacked my bags and gave me directions to a hotel by the airport. He apologized for kicking me out and offered to pay for the hotel. I declined and said I would pay for it, but asked why I had to go. In my mind, he wanted me to be his girlfriend. I was there from out of state to care for him. Was it really that weird to be there when family was there? His excuse was that they would be hurt that he didn't call them first to care for him, and he would rather not deal with his hurt family on top of his soreness from the surgery. He said he'd visit me in the hotel that night and to just let him know my room number. Well, I didn't go to that hotel. I found a cheaper one and asked the front desk that if anyone calls looking for me to not put them through. They were more than happy to oblige with that. I got up to my room with my laptop and plugged it in and began to hardcore search this guy. When we met, he told me that Skype and Kik were the only way he communicated with friends and family and that he didn't have a Facebook for work reasons. I kind of doubted that at first and looked for him a long time ago but never found anything. I did find a LinkedIn a long time ago, but that only tells you so much. Well, this time I created a throwaway Facebook and looked for him again. He popped up almost instantly. I also looked at the URL and typed that into Google to find his Tumblr and Instagram. This is what I took away from that information: none of his family lives remotely close to him. He is outdoorsy and often goes on group outings with friends. He thrives on bar life and often goes out looking for girls with his friends. He told me he worked for a specific company. He actually doesn't. The hospital picture he showed me was from a motorcycle accident. He has 3 kids that he's only seen a few times and none of the moms live remotely close to him as well. You can imagine how sick I felt. I looked through his listed family and I contacted the person listed as his sister. Surprisingly, she got back to me quick. She debunked the leukemia lie and told me that he never was terminally ill. And if he was, they certainly had no idea that he was. She suggested I find an early flight and go back home. Then the conversation ended and I just sat there with my tummy in knots. I didn't have unprotected sex with him. But those are huge lies. I ordered food and ate to clear my mind. Then I got in my car and drove by his house. His car was gone, but there was another car in the driveway with a Hello Kitty sticker on the back of it. That made me feel worse. I drove back to the hotel and now I'm sitting here in an armchair struggling with whatever I'm feeling emotionally.